This is the Zone Football League.
Welcome back to another episode of the Zone In podcast, where we talk everything Zone Football League across Newcastle. As always, I'm Mason, and joining me today down on the couch, bit of a different vibe today, is Cameron and Wilso. How are we, guys?
Good, thanks, mate. Good to be here. I guess we're sitting down here because usually we tower over him and that little short man syndrome can come in.
Look, you beat me to the phrase, but yes, insecurities on my height.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, nice and comfy.
You're right. You're actually dead right. Those chairs are awful on the butt.
Definitely a bit of a strain on the back. You got to sit up. But yeah, you guys, as we joked about, presenter over here, pundits over there, and yeah, look, we won't dilly dally around. We'll jump straight into the results of the weekend, the final round. Lots of catch-up games for these ones. Starting in Zone 1, we did have just the 3 games. Stockton Sharks getting a 2-0 win over Swansea. Bit of an upset of the round, I'd say. Cardiff City with a 2-2 draw with Warners Bay, which unfortunately pretty much ruled both of them out of the finals run. And finally, looking at the match of the round, which saw Newcastle Croatia take on Westlake's Wildcat. And Cam, we'll start with you, as you were the man on deck there, but pretty convincing win, you would say, for Croatia.
Yeah, well, they just edged it by the end of the game. No, it was, I think you probably expected a few goals to be scored on the day. I mean, I think the last time they met was 8-1 in Croatia's favour. So you're expecting a big result, and Croatia delivered. I mean, Westlake set out trying to probably destroy the atmosphere, destroy the enjoyment of what the day was meant to be for Croatia, but they just showed their quality. I said that a few times during the game. It's just the difference in quality that Croatia has. You can see just how they get 10 goals. Obviously, they're going to be somewhat decent, and not all the goals are quality, but the fact that they can score 10 shows the quality.
Well, and Wilso, just to say as well, you say the quality that they had, but also you've got to remember the quality they didn't put out on the weekend. I know Cowburn sat out. You obviously went through the team list. I'm sure the Cowburn wasn't just the only notable name out. No,
I think they had 3 of their top 4 goal scorers out for the day, and Cowburn's one of them. But McGuinness, obviously top goal scorer for them, was on the field, and he did all right with a hat trick. But the rest of them, there was a lot of resting. And speaking with Josh Popescu before the game, he said, it's just making sure that we don't have any injuries, and anyone that had slight concerns, just make sure that we rest them and be good for the finals.
Yeah, well, you look at the goal scorers, and some big names on there, isn't there? McGuinness, Majerowski, Mustafa Nouri, Cody Carroll's back there as well. Like you said, there's Cowburn's not out there, but that's a pretty healthy list of goal scorers. They just seem to be ticking all the boxes leading into the semi-final series. And to be fair, Westlakes didn't have a lot to play for, really. They've had to go up there. They're on a hiding to nothing. It's a big day for Croatia, and they just got the job done. And but Westlakes, they did enough. They stayed up, and if they had something to play for, I don't think it ever would have been that scoreline. But Croatia, what a way to go into the semi-finals with a 10-0 win. Is basically saying, have a look at us, or come at us, and we're waiting for all of you. That's just a damaging result before the semi-finals.
Yeah, and on the day, actually, I mentioned the fact that Croatia had, I think, 5 players from the normal starting 11 that were out due to a decision. They wanted to rest those players, whereas there was quite a few of the main starters for Westlakes as well that had been left out purely for the fact that they'd gone on holiday, as had their coach. Their coach, Graham Schofield, was also on holiday because they all planned to go away the week after the season. And obviously, with the weather it's been, the season gets extended, and they miss out due to forced players actually not being available.
And Westlake's form hasn't been that bad. They did enough to stay up, and a few little factors in there, but take nothing away from Croatia. It's just a big scoreline leading in, and they'd just be buoyed by that, and they'd be feeling fairly comfortable about where they're heading, for the double.
Definitely. And speaking of those goal scorers and one of the starters not rested, Jake McGuinness there with a hat trick. Was there any talk between you and Pops about why Jake wasn't one of the players to sit out?
No, didn't have a real conversation about that. It was mainly about who was out rather than who was in, I guess. Obviously being towards the top of the Golden Boot, I would have expected potentially that's something on the mind. Obviously, the rest of the goal scorers that had been left out were also sort of forcing their way in against a Westlake side. They probably would have expected that, maybe they could have got a few goals between them. But didn't ask the question. My assumption would be potentially trying to force their way up the Golden Boot rankings.
Yeah, for sure. And another one on the score sheet, getting a double himself is Majerowski. Also getting the Harry Snitzel man of the match on the day, which for those who would have been watching, maybe a different presentation of that award. As Cam, you said, CT actually asked Josh Pops who he thought the man of the match should be. Yeah,
well, normally it's between whoever is calling the game, and normally usually it's been me saying I think it's this player and CT going no, you're wrong, it's this player. So this time he went, you know what, we're not making the decision at all, we're taking it out of our hands. And look, to be honest, I think Majerowski probably would have deserved the man of the match if it was CT or I making the decision. But he probably did deserve it, and I think Josh probably did make the right choice. Although I think you mentioned before, McGuinness might have been feeling a little hard done by after scoring a hat trick and not getting the credit.
Yeah, 100%. And congratulations to Croatia for that end to the regular season. Also, their presentation of the premiers of Zone 1, their promotion up into Northern League 1 as well now. Obviously, the year itself not over, still a couple of games to be played. They rest this weekend in the quarterfinals. We'll see them back next Tuesday in the semi-finals against potentially Suns or Katara. So either one of those opponents, I'm sure, on the team's mind of they probably want to verse neither. Suns just a great rival throughout the season. I think Wilso a couple of weeks ago, you said you were talking to McGuinness and he said one of the teams he doesn't want to come up against again is Katara.
Yeah, he definitely made note of it, that it's one of the teams that they do struggle with and they've had to work really hard with in both their games this year. So yeah, it was an interesting conversation considering how dominant Croatia have been. That they're still thinking about some of the teams below them But it's just got some big name players in there. Johnny Madge, over many, many years, this time of year for him is just such a great time for him. He just scored so many goals in grand finals and at all levels, So, it's just, I think Croatia are going to be really difficult to beat, just on the weight of just that quality, not just in one position. It's in the front, a whole front third. You got Sessions at the back who's, been successful as well. Yeah. So they're just dominant in all facets of the game. And, it's really going to be hard to find someone, but it's semi-final football, and anything can happen. So the fact that the reward they get is that they get to sit there Tuesday night without having to play on the weekend, it's going to be massive, really, because I think Qatar and the Suns are going to go at it pretty hard. Yeah. And like I said, they're just going to be sitting there waiting on Tuesday night with a full deck of cards. So, it's going to be hard to see how they're not going to go straight, into that grand final.
Yeah, I definitely can't see them slipping up at all, especially not as much as your paper off your knee there. But finally, just before we do move on from Zone League 1, your thoughts, Wilso, as a coach, and being around football and everything, do you think, obviously Croatia being its own beast, but do you think that some players in the squad, and if so, from a coach's perspective, how you change this, they've won the premiership, they've got promoted, obviously great to also win a grand final, but how do you think Pops needs to really just keep them locked in for these next couple of games because it isn't over. As much as they've got the chocolates, they're moving on next year. What does Pops do to keep them locked in?
It's a good question. It's a relevant question for this time of the year, but I just think in Australia, everyone still wants to win a grand final. It's, we're not in the Premier League or in most of the leagues around the world where first past the post and to be fair, they've been rewarded massively by getting promotion. So that was their first thing they needed to tick off, and they did that really well. But don't get me wrong, I think they'll be dialed in. Josh is passionate. The club's passionate. Their supporters are passionate. Their players have been there and done that in grand finals. They'll be wanting a big win in the grand final. They'll be wanting a Mad Monday. They'll want it all. So for me, as a coach, I always wanted to win the premiership. But a player and as a coach, you still want to win that grand final because that ultimately is what everyone remembers at the end of an Australian calendar football year. So I just think they'll be dialed in. I think they'll be ready. There's just too much passion there within the club. They've got the results they wanted. They've put that to the side now. It'll be just bang. Let's get straight into the grand final. We'll have another couple of weeks off, and they're going to be hard to beat. They really are. If I was a betting man, which I have been unsuccessfully for a long time, only I could stop Croatia, I think.
Yeah.
I could stop Croatia.
Moving on now to Zone League 2. Some of the results touching on from the weekend. Nelson Bay Downing, Merewether advanced 4-3. Lambton Jaffers just sneaking a win over New Lambton, 2-1. Minmai and Cooks Hill with what I can imagine would have been a gritty 3-3 draw. The Maitland Derby, Bulwarra versus Norths finished up with a 2-2 draw. And finally, South Maitland versus Mayfield United Juniors. South Maitland getting a 2-0 win there. But the big game of the Zone League 2 weekend did see a match of the round rematch. Southern United hosting Crowders Bay at Tungurry. A 1-1 draw there. Just something I find funny to touch on. Crowders Bay go all wins throughout the whole season, claim the crown. 2 games left in the season. 2 draws. 2 draws,
yeah. And as I was talking to you earlier, I spoke to Wayne Bailey about them where they're going to maybe playing on Tuesday night, hopefully at Jack McLaughlin. And he said the same thing, but he said they're busted at the moment. He said they've lost a few players. Andrew Bailey's out injured. McBreen will play, but he won't play deep into the semi-final series. So he said they're vulnerable. He said they're still good. They're still expecting to win and they're expecting to go through and they're preparing it as such. But like he said, where the boys are tired. There's been a really long, arduous last kind of month, and the 2 draws, I guess, show probably where they're at physically, and I guess to have that weekend off this weekend, Cam, and then to be sitting there on the Tuesday night, that's definitely going to help. And they were his words.
Yep.
Yeah, just relax a little bit. I think at this point of the season, there's been so many washout rounds. It's been pretty much your Saturday, Tuesday throughout the last, even 5 weeks or so. And then even then, you prepare for a game like that, and potentially, you might know more about this in a sense of preparing for a game and having it washed out again. So you've potentially altered the way you're training, doing something different before you actually set up for a game. And then again, it's called out. So, obviously that chance to rest is possibly going to be massive for the Crabs.
Yeah, and I believe for the Crabs, especially as well, their reserve grade and their third grade as well actually had a lot of games crammed in. So Wayne maybe not even able to rest some first grade.
To call on other players.
Yeah. If the other 2 grades off playing 2-3 games a week almost would be tough for their roster there. But obviously someone that still got a bit of spring in the legs, Luke Muller, goal scorer again in the previous game against Southern United, getting the winner there, but this time opening the scoring in the 27th minute there.
Yeah, no, he's a decent player. You know, it was a great goal, the winner in the early game that we commentated. Cam, I think you did that game, and we're talking about them going through a season unbeaten, and they're disappointed because they don't win every game. It's an amazing feat anyway. Considering they also had a really good run in the cup as well, so they're loaded games there, loaded games in. Bales was, he was talking. He wasn't talking down their chances. He just said that they're tired and they've got a few injuries. He said they still expect to win, but I do think this weekend break will definitely help them. They've had a weekend where they celebrated hard, then they had to play games, and then a midweek, and then so they've still come through unscathed. They're still unbeaten. Yeah. They've still got some quality players in there, and it'll be a really good one to go to. Hopefully we get to call that game on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like any team in world football, if you go, hey, look, you're going to win every game, but almost every game of the season, you're only going to drop 4 points in the season. Pretty much every team will go, that'll do us.
I'll take that.
So, yeah, I don't think they're going to be too bothered by the end of that.
I think they'll be sitting the same as Croatia. They've got the reward. They're moving up a division. They've ticked that box. They've done really well in the cup. They've signed a big player in Daniel McBreen, who basically said today he's still thinking about playing again next year, which is terrific for the club. And now they have the chance to do what we all still want to do and be there on grand final day. And I think they're sitting pretty good.
Yeah, and obviously in this game as well, Southern United still weren't out and done with their season or giving it to Crabs an easy season. Lachlan France scoring in the 84th minute of this game to tie it up. Obviously, so full season Crabs tired. Obviously, 84 minutes into a game conceding, you'd almost be thinking, oh no, well, Southern on one hand being like, we could pip them here. And then Crabs also just being, oh no, what is about to happen? But yeah, unfortunately for Southern, weren't able to do the job, even with the game's man of the match, their number one between the sticks, Harrison Ward. They're obviously great goalkeeper, keep him in, but unfortunately the draw for Southern wasn't enough to keep him in the top 5, which is quite phenomenal. When I saw that, they've been flying high. I remember weeks we've commented on them. They were up in 3rd. They were pushing on Norths and Crabs, and then to finish outside the top 5 would be very disappointing for them.
I think the game against the Crabs where those late 2 goals, I think it probably hurt them more than everyone knew. I think it really affected them. They had that game. And it just may have just dug into them a little bit more than what they were presenting, and just a few results started to go against them, and maybe they were getting into positions where same sort of scenario, and again it goes the wrong way, and all of a sudden you can slide away, and you're losing the games you may have drawn, and you're not picking up any points, and it was a fall from grace, but it happens. It happens.
Yeah, and I feel like the goalkeeper being named man of the match, he was actually going to be named man of the match as well in the previous encounter between the two sides until the Crabs got the 2 goals. So
you wanted him, but CT
I wanted him. Yeah, CT decided
one
not.
of those situations.
That was actually where it started.
For the goal scorer.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did.
To CT's analysis.
Yeah, well, so but Ward's been pretty phenomenal from what I've been told, and how he's actually looked in games as well. And I think potentially, obviously, you want a keeper that's going to be able to get the man of the match awards, but you probably don't want to rely on that. And for a couple of games, obviously against the Crabs, so there's a little bit of leeway there. But if you're having a man of the match for your keeper too often, I guess there's probably going to be concerns over why is that happening? Why isn't it our striker? Why isn't it a center attacking midfielder? Why is it our goalkeeper that's always getting these awards?
Yeah.
Just.
So who made up the 5? Who slipped in?
So it was Crabs, Norths, and then I can't remember the exact placings, but Bulwarra 3rd, Minmai and Cooks Hill 4th and 5th.
Yeah,
I don't think you might correct me on this, but I don't think a Southern win was actually enough to put them into the 5 either.
I believe they needed to win and
have a result go their way.
And another result go their way. So, yeah, they were very much up against it. But I guess you can say one silver lining for Southern is that their potential nightmare of Crowders Bay will not be in their league next year. As we also, congratulate Crowders Bay on becoming premiers of Zone League 2, promoted up into Zone League 1. Cam, what your thoughts on Crowders Bay? Just a random prediction. How do you reckon they'll go next year? Obviously, with their current squad, I'm sure the interest that Crabs have just socially, but now also being in that top division, how do you reckon their chances fare next year?
Now, I'm not the expert here, but I'd expect it wouldn't be easy as maybe some people would expect, but I would sort of expect maybe mid-table. I don't think they'd be necessarily fighting for relegation again. Well, not again, but going back down. And I don't think they'd be fighting for promotion.
Not going to do a Croatia double.
I'm not
I feel
sure.
like their roster it's not in the same ballpark as Croatia's moving up. But that's not to say they can't get into the market and pick a few up now that they're into the top league, which I think they will. I think there are a few players they'll get a few from different clubs, and maybe some older players coming back that Bales knows or McBreen knows. So, I wouldn't write them off completely when they've got everyone on deck. But I think they're going to have to throw in a few players there, build their depth, basically.
Yeah, and as a club that can bring in McBreen, I'm sure they've got a bit of pull about them to potentially get these others that, you make the step up and, hey guys, anyone interested? I'm sure there would be a few players going, there's a good project going on.
I've been working on my knee, rubbing it. That's all I've been doing.
Is that saying you're expecting a call-up? Or?
Well, I think if they knew my knee was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon you
getting way more. Yeah.
I reckon you go all right in reserves.
Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't. No disrespect, but I wouldn't be putting those boots on. No, I would like to make a special note to the oldest club in Australia, like Minmai. I think their performance after their start, and it's been like each week we've came in. I wonder how Minmai's gone, and there's just been a gradual, steady points. They just seem to be getting points for so long, and you wouldn't have thought that at the start of the year. They were in a real hole, so they definitely got it right, and they might have had a bit of luck and with injuries and just kept their team going for multiple weeks. But it's great to see them in the semi-finals, and it'll be interesting to see how they go as well.
100%. Finally, rounding out the results of the weekend, looking into Zone 3, we have Merriweather United getting a 2-0 win over Rutherford. Fletcher and Charlestown game ended 4-1 in Charlestown's favour. Suburbs getting just above Bellbird in a 2-1 win. And finally, the Premiers game seeing promoted Greeter coming up against Barnsley in a very narrow 1-0 win there, with the goal coming in the 61st minute by Jared Naylor. Probably tighter than Greeter maybe wanted to leave it. Not sure of their roster through that game. They may have also, knowing that they've wrapped the season up, rested a few players. But obviously they may have still been quite threatening on the attack because the man of the match for that game, again, Josh Snedden, Barnsley's goalkeeper. So another goalkeeper from the non-winning side, getting the man of the match there.
I remember Josh Snedden. I've been at Edgeworth quite a few years back. Probably a combination of two things there. Like you said, Greta wrapped up the premiership already, might have rested a couple, or even just in that mental phase of just going, we'll just go through the motions. And Barnsley, well, they're rocks and diamonds all year, really. So when they're on, and they're probably so. If they were on and Greta a little bit off, then probably the scoreline has reflected that. The fact that Joshua's got man of the match probably suggests that Greta had more of the play and the chances. So, they might not have just finished them off. So, probably a bit of both there, I think. Greta already looking forward to the semi-finals, and Barnsley, who did still have, a fighting chance, probably gave it everything they had and have just fallen short. And I think that's courtesy of just, them being a little bit up and down this year.
Yeah, it's a pretty similar scenario for Barnsley as it was for Southern United, in terms of they needed a result against the Premiers and they needed a result somewhere else to go their way. So, there's obviously, I'm sure there was a bit of hope going into that game and making it a 1-0. They seemingly would have done as much as they could have done and potentially forced, a good game over the line. And I think it was the 61st minute that Greta got the goal. And I don't think it was a wonder strike. I think it was deflected off a crossbar or a post or a keeper or something like that, and finished off as well. So
look, they still celebrated it all the same, goals and goals.
Yeah.
So
I think that was the loudest cheer that seeing the Bar TV goals on Instagram. I think that was the loudest cheer that you saw from the feed of all three games. So
and 2 Harry Stitzel's Man of the Match awards to goalkeepers.
Yeah. There we go.
The crazy ones.
You touched on Wilso, Barnsley, a bit rocks and diamonds, still good on their day, but obviously in that bottom of the finals section, did come down to quite a fight. The last 2 games of the season, some teams with midweeks last week as well, but Southern Lakes were in that top 5, and the result, their midweek result, did mean a lot for them. Charlestown, obviously, they snuck in with that 5th place spot, but Barnsley Rutherford also still around there. So it was one of those ones really that tight. Really came down to that last week.
Yeah, and Charlestown have come through, and again, at the start of the year, they were battling. They were in. And some good players on their roster. Yeah. And to go into the semi-finals with that roster, if they're all fit, they could, be an outside chance, because it's really is wide open, that division. Obviously, Merriweather have gone on a really good run to run into 3rd, just to pip Medowie. And I think it's going to be a really good game, the Medowie-Charlestown game. I think it's a really interesting match. Medowie, they've had a really good season. They've had some not so good things happen inside the club, some sad things. And if they can maybe draw on that and get to take some positives out of their season as well. I've been really impressed with Medowie, but Charlestown, just the way they've finished this, and winning form is so important going into the semi-finals. So I'm really looking forward to that game, and obviously the Merriweather United Curry game. Just
wrapping up on this Greta Barnsley game, Greta. Again, we're celebrating the premiers from the round that was. They've been solid for most of the year. Obviously, the last time they were on the cameras, an unfortunate result for them on the day, 4-0 against Curry. And that, Cam, we were talking as well, that almost rocked the boat a little bit for their season and could have been their undoing all the way back then. But they've obviously stayed strong and become premiers.
Yeah, I think it that result for Curry put them within 3 points. And I can't remember exactly how it was, but there was a game in hand one way or the other. And it, to me, after watching that game, I sort of went, Curry might be able to get something going here. And I think Curry might have had one bad result at the end of the season as well, which probably...
They did go down 2-0 to Southern Lakes, and Greta did get awarded the premiership from a draw with Rutherford, I believe. So 2 results that no one probably would have expected. But yeah, what a crazy way to finish the season.
Yeah, and I think realistically, probably Zone League 3 is looking the most close contest in terms of who's actually done what over the season, who's got results against who in the 5. And I think obviously there's big moments and big games across the whole of the finals, but Zone League 3 is looking very exciting for the final series.
I agree. And you go back to that Greta Curry game, and Curry won that game so easily. And I remember sitting in here thinking the same thing as you guys, that Curry could go on a roll here and Greta might go the other way, but it was basically the opposite. I'm pretty sure Curry dropped points pretty quickly after it, and Greta, I don't think they've faltered much ever since. So it might have been just they needed that result to give them the kick up the butt that they kind of needed, if that was sneaking into their game, because they really got wiped that day. So to come back from that and lift themselves off the canvas, a little bit, and really they've just sort of they haven't walked away with it, but they had a little bit in check at the end, and it really looked like it was going to be a little bit closer than that.
Just wanted to take a minute to thank all of our great sponsors of the Zone In podcast. We have Deploy Football, the leading developers and manufacturers of performance sporting solutions, not only just including our awesome balls, and also sportswear with all of our grassroots clubs in helping them design and produce amazing apparel. One of our other major sponsors, Solved Marketing. If you want your problems solved are the ones to go with. Helping businesses, brands solve complex challenges with ingenuity and creative solutions. Solved Marketing is our go-to agency for all of our marketing needs, and we cannot recommend them enough. And finally, Harry Schnitzel Joint. You guys know every week Man of the Match is presented with the Harry Schnitzel Award. Definitely go check Harry Schnitzel out. And we know that all the Man of the Match recipients have been so excited to get their Harry Schnitzel Man of the Match Award and get down to Harry Schnitzel.
This weekend, we are in finals fever, finally starting. Quarterfinals on the weekend, 2nd versus 3rds, 4th versus 5ths. We've touched on as already, the premiers do get the weekend off, which sure is well deserved, and I'm sure they'll be enjoying that. We'll start on Zone League 1 with on Sunday. So all 4th versus 5th place games are on Sunday 3 p.m. 2nd versus 3rd place games are Saturday 3 p.m. So for Zone League 1, University of Newcastle coming in 4th, coming up against 5th place Mayfield United at Ray Watt Oval. Their previous results throughout the season, the first game favoured Uni 5-1 in quite a large result there, and their next game then, which was a match of the round at Ray Watt as well, was a 2-2 draw. Uni finishing on 39 points, but Mayfield finishing on 37, so very, very tight in those final 2 spots there. This should be a great game. As I said, most recently their 2-2 draw. What do you see the results coming here? Obviously a knockout final, so leave it all on the field.
Yeah, it's all to play for. Like you said, the 2-2 draw, their latest result, means there's probably going to be goals in it. I think they're going to both go for it. It's elimination. You can't leave anything out there. No petrol left in the tank. I'm going to go with Mayfield. I've been, quietly impressed with them over the, not that I haven't been with University. They've gained some real scalps along the way, and they get to play at Ray Watt, where they've been good. But I just think if Mayfield get it right, and when they do, they've won some big games as well. So I'm going to go with Mayfield.
Yep. You, Cam?
Oh, there's not many easy games to predict over the course of the predictions we've done. I haven't ever really gone. I'm 100% certain on any game, and this is no different.
Yeah.
I just have this feeling, and I don't know if there's any reality behind it, but I have a feeling that Uni will get across the line, and it'll probably be a big help to their leading goal scorer, Forsyth, getting a couple of goals, I'd expect.
Yeah.
And that is only based on the fact he's had a really good season. Based on no other knowledge, I haven't had the chance to get to a Uni game this season, so I haven't seen too much of the inner workings. It's just been he's got a lot of goals. He's going to score a couple more and get him a result.
Definitely. Well, yeah, big man that Nick Forsyth is on big numbers there, 19 goals for the season.
He's the 9, isn't he, up the top?
Yeah.
I think
6'5", tall fella.
When they played
at the start of the season,
And I think he scored one that day, but he was involved with everything. Yeah, 19 goals. That's a pretty good collect for the season.
And when Uni did come in for the podcast, he did actually have to duck through the door frame there. So that just tells you how tall he is. Interesting stat for me as well. Mayfield United conceding 42 goals this season. That's seventh least goals conceded in the league. Not a great stat to come into finals when you're coming up against Nick Forsyth himself, but also the Uni scoring 72 goals themselves, which is the third most in the league.
Yeah, if you could bet on overs in that one, you'd have to for sure. But it looks like it's going to be goals in it. It's probably way too late to start working on your defence. I think this time of the year they're going to have to score a couple. I think Mayfield, and they're probably going to have to do that all the way through. And when you consider some of the teams that are above them there, the way they've been scoring goals, they're going to need to score a few. I think they've got goals in them. If they've worked on anything defensively and they've got that part in check, I think they'll be hard to beat.
Well, Mayfield having Killian Murphy in net, one of the better goalkeepers touted in the league. Obviously, you can't, as we've spoken about, you can't always rely, and you don't want to always rely on your goalkeeper. But that's what really shocked me about Mayfield's defense there. But yeah, Cam, I know you're a fellow stats man. Those, like, to me, I'm saying they're quite worrying stats for this game. And for me, I'm going to throw it out there. I reckon, unfortunately for Mayfield, I reckon Uni wiped this game.
I think the goals for is certainly something we can look at and go, wow, they've got almost 20 more goals in the season, across the season. I think we're potentially looking too far into this goals against, because you say, Mayfield have conceded 42, they're 7th in the league, but then you look 39 goals against for Mayfield. They've only conceded 3 less, and they're in 3rd. So I think there's potential. I think it might just be one of those stats that you go.
And they might have copped a couple of big ones, maybe from Croatia or maybe from the Suns, or you only have to stack 5 or 6 a couple of times. But yeah, I agree. It's still worrying. But I kind of agree with you, Cam, as well, that they can just put that aside. Semi-finals, it's an elimination final. If they're ever going to get it right, it's in one of these games where they can generally be tighter games.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely why, Cam, you're one of the pundits and I'm a presenter. I'm here picking the stats that I reveal, try to create spark, and good on you shutting me down. So moving on then to the sorry.
Yeah.
And of course, Wilso.
And then an expert.
Yep. Moving on to
I think that needs to be said each week, not just. I don't think I should have to bring that up.
Would you
as
like
the
a
presenter,
name badge? I'll get your name badge sorted.
Maybe do that.
Yeah. Possibly here the biggest game of the weekend. We have second place Suns coming up against third place Katara South at Myers Park. Probably the tightest matchups in this quarterfinals week. 2-2 draw, 1-1 draw throughout the season.
Yeah, I think this would be a terrific match. So if you do get the chance, get down there to watch the game. I'm excited about this one. I think the Suns they'll be preparing for this after they missed the premiership. I think they would have started to get into semi-final mode 3 or 4 weeks ago. I think Gary Borradaile would have been just slowly getting his players ready, making sure they're all fit. The ones that have got injuries probably resting. They're always going to run second or third. I think they're going to, I'm looking forward to this game. And I've been super impressed with Katara South as well, Cam. So it's going to be an absolute ripper of a game. I think it'll be a big crowd. The weather's supposed to be delicious on Sunday. So
This one's on Saturday.
This one's on Saturday.
Yes.
Well, that's good stuff.
Do you know if it's delicious on Saturday?
I do. It's going to be tasty on Saturday.
There you go.
And before Cam steals my thunder here, the difference between these two in points on the table, between second and third, 51 points to Suns, 41 to Katara. So a 10-point difference, but obviously the one place difference. But I still just can't. I still reflect on a 2-all draw and a 1-all draw. Like, there's obviously 10 points on paper distinguishing them, but there can't be much in it, Cam.
No, I obviously not. Haven't been able to separate the sides twice this season, so there clearly isn't much separating them aside from the points, as you mentioned, which, across the course of a season, I guess just comes down to potentially more experience. Suns being used to being in those positions, Katara maybe not so much, used to being in contention for, second. And there was, whispers. I think the first game I did this season was Mayfield versus Katara, which Katara didn't get the result on that day. But looking at it, they were the form team at the time. It was very early into the season, but they were still, looking at, hey, this team could go all the way. They could get a first, and obviously didn't get there, but potentially, again, you as the expert might know a little bit more. That maybe those wheels just fall off as you're slightly more inexperienced.
Just think, when you consider Croatia, we're just head and shoulders above the rest of the group, and then the Suns have got a great roster. When you're talking about experience, you've got the Palozzi brothers who are leading the front line there.
Maybe a bit of rivalry with them for the final series as well. Both brothers on 11 goals this season. Yeah,
both great players over many years. I think when the first game of the year, Alex Palozzi is one of my favourite players I've ever coached. We used to call him Silky. He's just one of those players. You never know what he's going to do. And even back, in the Zone League 1. He's still, scoring goals, creating goals. He's going to play a major role. Obviously, for Katara Jansen, he's just been amazing this year, scoring goals for fun.
Yep.
Anytime you score, double figures, let alone 20 goals in a season, he is a massive danger.
Yep.
And if there's any, they'll have Jacob Pepper in midfield. If there's any danger there might be the pace of the back line. Not saying Katara's front line's speedy, but
probably more the youthful of the two teams.
That's probably the best way to put it. It's hard to know which way to go. I'm going to go with Suns just on the weight of points they scored this year and the experience they've got. But if I'm reading the paper on Monday, I would not be surprised if Katara get the result.
I'd more so be surprised that the result's in the paper.
Well, I haven't read the Herald in about 10 years either, so I won't be doing that.
I like your analogy.
It's just a saying. Sort of,
Yep. No, look, I think for Katara, Jansen's obviously the one that you're sort of looking at, 20 goals a season. I think, I'm not certain on the stats, but he's had 16 appearances this season. So, he's over a goal every 2 games.
Calculator?
So, no, I don't have it on me. But, I think typically people go for a striker, you're looking at 1 every 2 is probably a decent sort of return, and he's done
and
a bit more than that.
I can also confirm this is his goal tally is after having his goals against Azuri taken away as well, which the whole competition did. So
he'd be pretty cranky as a striker.
Do you know where he would have been? Do you know how many goals he would have been on if
he scored 9 in that game?
I'm not too sure how many he did get against Azuri.
He probably didn't get any.
Yeah, potentially. But again, looking at for and against here as well. Obviously, Croatia standout, coming first in goals scored and first in least goals conceded. But when you look here, Suns 72 goals for, the second most amount of goals in the league. But coming up against Qatar, 34 goals conceded, the second best defense in the league. It really is just it's
got draw written all over it.
Yeah.
It really has.
This is what I'm saying. You cannot separate them. It's crazy.
And it could go to, obviously if it's a draw, it'll go to extra time. It does have extra time.
Extra time.
I think it's heading that way. Just on especially defensively, 34. That's a pretty good effort.
Yeah.
Considering some of those teams that have ahead of them, the amount of goals they're scoring against teams. So, it's a really like I said, I'm just going to go with the Suns, just through the experience they've had in semi-final football over many years, home ground, big crowd.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say the paper thing again, but. They'll just get online. If you look online on Squatty or something,
it'll be on the Zone Football League Facebook page.
Zone Football League, it always comes up on my phone at the most appropriate of time. So,
I'm probably gonna follow you here. I think I wouldn't say this is the last dance for Qatar this game, but I definitely think Suns get the result on this day.
And this isn't a knockout. This is whoever loses plays the winner of the other
4 versus 5. Yeah.
Okay. So, look, if you're both going Suns here, I feel obliged to go for Qatar. But prediction for this is it's going to be one of those where they haven't been able to separate themselves for the season. It's going to go right to extra time, and someone's going to score in the final minute of extra time, and it's going to be Jansen.
So you're like a dreamer there. So that's the difference between a pundit.
I've had a lot of experiences of, hey, this game's going to go all the way to penalties, and then it's in the final minutes. So I'm just living off experience here.
Moving on to Zone 2, we have 4th place Cooks Hill coming up against 5th place Minmai, sounding like your little soft spot team, Minmai, Wilso. This one to be played at Fernley Dawes Athletics Track. Their previous results early in the season was a 3-2 win to Minmai, and the most recent result a 2-2. They were separated by only 5 points, but still bit of a margin there for that one.
Yeah, I mean, Cooks Hill have had a good run as well. I've followed them closely. A lot of the teams that were struggling early on in that league have come through.
Probably if you take Crabs and Wolves out of the equation, you probably would have expected Cooks Hill to be one of those top two teams. Yeah,
and they've been a little bit up and down, but they've done well the back end. Excuse me. Minmai, though, it's hard not to like them. Jack Murphy, 23 goals. There's another. That's a decent amount of goals. Because considering the next scorers are 6 and 4. So he really, he's the go-to man.
Is that to me, that's alarm bells. You're relying on one man. To score the goals. Look, I don't know Jack, but I wouldn't say that I wouldn't assume he's a selfish guy and he's just taking everything. But maybe Minmai really just relying on their star guy here.
Well, it seems that way. I get, the stats don't lie.
Where on the flip side, Cooks Hill sharing the goals around. They got Jordan Connell on 12, Keane Thomas 10, Will Nagline on 10 as well. So they're sharing it around team kind of momentum there.
We'll go to the stats, man. Really, I don't know.
Well, I don't really have any stats to talk about here, but just, I guess thoughts out there for you guys would be that, obviously you get into a final series and obviously you want a lot of people to be able to step up, but surely you want that star player that you can look to.
That's that's devil's advocate at its best there. I guess you can look at it the way you said and go, okay, but the fact that you do have a guy that if you put it on a platter for him, he's not missing, and 23 goals suggests that he doesn't miss too often. So you can look at it the other way, that if he's marked well, you know these other guys are going to have to step up. So, but I'd like to look at it in the way that Cam has, and if they get the ball to him and they're not marking him well, he's gonna play a major part on the day. So I'm gonna go a slight upset and go with Minmai.
No surprises there.
I wouldn't be surprised if you just pulled that Bar TV shirt up and some in my jersey at this stage.
But there's they're playing at Fernley, which is that field was in really good nick throughout the season.
Yep.
Good place to play.
Yep.
So yeah,
I'd love for someone from Cooks Hill Club to comment or send us a message or something and confirm or deny if the club does paint the field. There's been a few rumours getting around that Fernley Doors
Broadmeadow
is
Magic used to do
green.
that. Broadmeadow Magic. I don't know. I've played on it a couple of times. So yeah, I've not got green paint on my boot.
Well, I could have been the first one to spread the rumor because I did.
Yeah. Why didn't you just say that?
I was at Fernley Doors and I did walk off with green shoes. So
just say it.
I'm just wanting to know: is it painted? Is it something in the?
What you haven't pointed out there is that you
seeds?
play in green boots. So that's.
Well, you got me there.
Yeah,
you got me there. But yeah, for me, I think this one's Cooks Hill. No doubt for me. I just don't think it's. I in a high pressure game, putting pressure on one man for Jack Murphy at Minmai, I just can't see it working. Cam?
Can I pick a draw?
Sure. Yes.
I don't think I'll be right if I do that. So I'm going to say, I think I'm leaning the way of Cooks Hill. I'm not certain about that. I feel like I might have picked a draw between these two teams when we were previously predicting during the season. So hasn't really changed my mind, but obviously needs to be a winner. I think I'm leaning the way of Cooks Hill.
Yep. Fair enough. That one, obviously a knockout final, so would be a shame for either team. But looking towards then second versus third place in Zone League 2, North United Wolves finishing in that second spot, Bulwarra Lawn in that third spot. These two obviously playing on the weekend, so they'll be very knowledgeable of each other. That result ending in a 2-2 draw, but previous in the season, Wolves getting a win there, 3-2. Again, tight. North's finishing with 49 points, Bulwarra 45. 44. So 5 points the difference there. Not too much in it.
Yeah, same, really.
And I think you get to this point of the finals and everything is kind of that way.
I think so, yeah. It's going to be tight, torrid.
And it's harsh to say tight, boring game, but as you say, Cam, these are what these games are made out to be because these teams are in these positions for a certain reason, so it should be hard to pick the deadlock break.
And the second v third, you win that one, you're one game away from a grand final appearance. So it's a massive game. It teeters the whole semi-final bubble, really. If you lose it, then you're playing the winner. So it's such a big game, this one. For the winner, gets a crack at the premiers. I think this one's going to penalties. I think it's just going to be tight.
Yeah,
torrid. I think there's going to be a lot of feeling between the two teams, especially if they played last week and it's raw. If there was anything in that game, there's not too long to
imagine if
behind.
this game was played on the originally scheduled Tuesday of the week, a 3-day turnaround for these teams, that would have been heated. But I'm going
to go Bulwarra on pens. I just know I'm looking at some inside information. They're very good at penalties.
Oh, fair enough. Well, for me, you look at the Bulwarra's top scorers here. You got I'm going to say Cloughton. Cluton on 8. Leo there on 8. Dylan Abella and Riley
not gonna
Kent
say the
on
last
7.
He didn't even have a go at it. He didn't even have a go at it.
Go on, Kev. You
Paleologos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
easy.
wasn't getting that one out. Sorry, Leo. But yeah, all obviously again.
What about the last guy's name? What can you pronounce that one?
Riley Kent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it spot on. All very close there, 8, 8, 7 apiece for the latter two. Not many goals overall though, but to their credit, second in least amount of goals conceded with 27, only been beaten out to shout out the Crabs conceding 11 goals this season, which, yeah, good defense from them, but I'm sure we'll speak about them
North
next.
as well, 28 against. So
Yep.
they're both got reasonably tight defences.
Yeah, that for me just proving how tight their defences are, but North kind of getting the better in the goal scoring sense. It'll be close. I reckon it'll go the distance, but I reckon Wolves pip them here.
Yeah. Tobias King Bell,
Yep.
16 goals.
I mean, you talk about sharing around the goals, and you've got 3 tied in third place for North's top goal scorers. So
Wolves obviously know how to score.
yep, there's no concerns there about that.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those that it's difficult at this point of the season, but I think probably going to lean the way of Norths here.
Yeah. Yep. So again, another, I'm sure, tight game. Great one to get down to if you are in the Maitland Valley region. Finally, wrapping it out with Zone League 3, seeing 4th place Medowie come up against 5th place Charlestown. We touched on this game briefly before of the contest. Their first result this season, a 2-2 draw, and their most recent, a 3-1 win to Charlestown. This easily, as we've said, 4th, 5th position, Zone League 3, could have been many a teams, but here's how we've ended up with Medowie and Charlestown in this bout here. Medowie with 2 of the better scorers in the league as well there, Alex Phillips on 18 and Campbell Reynolds on 16. So they can find the net, and Wilso, you were at King Park earlier in the year when Medowie did face Merriweather.
Yeah.
As was I.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, you were too, Cam. I apologise. I
was really impressed with Medowie that day.
Yeah.
I was impressed with Phillips. Sorry about this paper thing. Phillips, Reynolds as well. They combined really well. It was interesting to see Jack Jones with 6 goals. That day, I think he scored 2.
Yeah.
Were they pens?
I think
I think both were from
both
the
were
spot.
pens,
Yeah.
but I was really impressed with his running from midfield. Lots of deep running, really made it difficult for the Merriweather defence that day. And to score 6 goals from midfield, so it's a pretty good return. Obviously they're getting the ball forward to the front too, and they're scoring goals for fun. But if your midfielder's scoring 6 to 10, he's doing a good job.
Well, speaking of that, Charlestown's leading man in the midfield, Zach Lloyd, scoring 8 himself.
I feel different type players though. I think Zach, who had a decent career with Azuri, and he was really good to watch again when they played Merriweather early on in the year. More of a slower build up, terrific set pieces, and pretty much took everything on the day. He took the corners and was heading them in. So really impressed with him that day. A box to boxer, I don't know if that's in Zach's locker at the well, it definitely wasn't that day, but such an intelligent player. So
intelligent enough to maybe let his midfield partner Chester Wade do all the running.
exactly.
Maybe. Yeah.
Was it Chester got the man of the match?
Man of the match that day, yeah. On
Harry
TV,
Simpson's man of the match. Oh, this is a ripper of a game. I'm happy for Charlestown because they were fumbling their way through the early rounds as well. when the weather was not good and they couldn't get games together. But there's a bit of class in that team, and obviously Zach's holding it all together for them. There's a bit of difference in the points overall for the season and goals, but it's a semi-final. I just think it's up at Yulong. I think Madawi will sneak it, but I don't know. Charlestown are going to give them a pretty big scare.
Yeah, and I'm leaning towards Madawi on this one too. I think.
Well, you go the favourites every time. So.
Well, I haven't.
You and
I picked
the
Katara.
Yes. Yeah,
So just putting that out there.
I'm just saying. Well, it might be. Yeah. No, the presenter goes for the favourites every single time.
I was just surprised you didn't go for the underdogs in this one.
Yeah.
You talk about Minmay and their underdog story,
well, if I have a soft spot for some, I just tip them.
Well, I will prove you wrong here, and I do feel like if there is any team to be in 5th place and create an upset, I definitely think Charlestown's one of those teams. Nothing against Madawi. Obviously, I've played against them. We've seen them on Bar TV. Boys up top can score, as we've touched on. But if they can take even just one of those front boys out of the game, just mark him out of the game, let Zach do his thing. The Charlestown last year, I know, and now this year again, were a second half of the season team, so their momentum coming into this maybe warrants their favoritism over Madawi here for my liking. So yeah, I'm going to go Charlestown.
I think there's a lot of merit to what you're saying. Winning form, and they've had to go on a really good run. I know that bottom, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th was really, really tight, but it's just really good winning form going into the semi-finals of what is a very tight competition. It's some real merit to what you're saying, and
thank you. I'm
really
not just all a pretty face.
I'm just so surprised that you haven't gone the favourite, but I'm going to stick with Madawi.
Fair enough. You're sticking with Madawi as well, Cam?
Didn't hear anything to change my mind.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Finally, the last game to review here. 2nd versus 3rd place in Zone League 3 sees Curry and Curry and Merriweather, respectively, playing up at Birley Oval. And it is this week's match of the round for the quarterfinals. As we did touch on before, we did offer it to other games, but once that was turned down, we thought, why not start from the bottom division, and as we go through the finals, we'll work our way up to the top and then the pinnacle of the grand finals. The previous results for these ones, very early in the season, Curry with a 4-1 win over Merriweather, but most recently a 2-2 draw. Bit of quite a difference there. I am going to, for boys on the couch sake and everyone at home, be very what would the word be? Hands off on bias.
Who are you predicting?
Well, at this stage, I may not even play, so the game to me is very on the sideline. What if I said I was going to play? Still Curry.
Very well.
But no. Curry finishing on a very convincing 46 points. Merriweather 10 behind on 36. So, yeah, still very disparative there. Again, a team with a bundle full of goals from their front three. Aaron Comerfield and Lucas Straka both level on 19 goals. Liam Stevenson just behind them on 10. Cam, I do remember this one, you were at Curry calling that game against Greta.
Yep.
Those boys up top, they proved it.
They all got on the score
scoring.
sheet.
Yeah, they did, but
Lucas Straka got 2, the other 2 got 1 each. Stevenson and Comerfield both.
Lethal attack there.
Yeah, and that was a big sort of talking point of what CT and I were talking about on the day in terms of, this team is really strong forwards against a pretty decent defensive side in Greta, which didn't quite show on the day. It was more so about the strikers rather than the defenders on that day. But Comerford probably was quiet during a big portion of that game. But, I think he scored the last of the goals. I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure he scored the fourth. And, as a striker, if you get a goal, you've done your job on the day.
Yeah.
Striker looks phenomenal on that day as well. I think that was one of the rare occurrences I actually got to select the man of the match. That was because CT left at halftime. And that was, Striker got the man of the match on that occasion. And he was phenomenal. The thing about Curry on that day, though, was everything was pretty straightforward. It was just over the top, chase and run onto it, which Comerford and Striker both have the ability to do that. But not sure how it'll turn out on the against a Merriweather defence.
No, I remember that game as well. CT had got home. he wanted Comerford for the man of the match, even though he watched only half the game. And I tended to agree with him, but just went with Striker. Is it Striker or Striker?
Yeah,
he's
a
striker.
Yeah.
But the three of them and Stevenson with 10 goals. Again, that's a really good strike force, and obviously their position on the table belies that. But Merriweather, they've had a really good second half to the season, just continually picking up points. Hewitt with 12 goals. Rodriguez, I remember watching him.
Different Rodriguez.
Different one.
Yeah, that game was Gonzalo. This one's Tomas. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
But also an interesting one here, obviously Greeter with the Premiers coming first. But when you look at the goals for and goals against, Curry leading in both of them, even though coming second in the league, leading most goals, 64, and least conceded with 23. Looking into those stats, it seems weird that obviously some of Curry's results not go the way. Obviously, that's how you don't come first.
Curry's had a great season.
Yeah.
They're the only team that really looked like they could have threatened Greeter and showed it with the win, and just didn't quite go their way. So they'll be looking to get the second part of the season, the grand final, in the trophy in their cabinet. But Merriweather, they're going to have a lot to say about this game. They've got some players that are in good form. They've got nothing to lose. They're on a roll. It's hard to go past Curry, especially at home. But don't be surprised if Merriweather put in a good performance. In a side tip, I think whoever wins this game will win on Tuesday night.
True. Also, touching on the Merriweather with the second best defense as well, only 26 goals conceded. So obviously both teams very solid at the back. And as I said, I'll be very hands off this one, but I think the difference maker in this will be the guys up top for either team. And at this stage, for me, it's kind of looking like Curry.
Yeah, I mean, Merriweather scored 47 goals and 26 against, so that the gap there is smaller. 68 goals for Curry, is it?
64.
64. That's a lot of goals. It's a lot of goals. And it's a big difference, and you can see it in the leading goal scorers for Merriweather. 12 as your leading goal scorer. It's at the lower end. Obviously,
for someone predominantly playing midfield as well.
From midfield, yeah. So, it's pointing towards a Curry win, but you can sit here all day and know that this game is going to be tight and it's going to be won in the moments. And Hewitt might only need one chance or two chances from midfield. This is where the players step up in the big games, and it's a huge one. It really is a huge one. Like I said, I think the winner will go on and find a way into the grand final, but the loser may easily get burned with what's coming from behind.
Definitely. Yeah. Cam, see us out here.
I'm gonna go with Curry.
Yeah.
See, now I feel if I pick Curry, Of course,
let's
you pick
just
Curry.
go to a break because we know he's going to say Curry.
It'll be the first unanimous decision. So
the reason that I do lean to Curry here is we've spoken about having, a star man and potentially also in points having teams that spread the goals. In this case, for Curry, it's two players that are up there in terms of goals scored. And I think that's probably going to be too much on the day. And surprisingly, I'm picking Curry.
And I'm obviously, we know you play with Merriweather, and for you to talk, and you have spoken highly of Curry, not just today during the season. So, and you're playing in that league, and you've probably spoken more highly of Curry than Greta. So it really, I think that tells a story of how good Curry are and how dangerous they can be. But again, it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a great one to call, match of the round. If you can't get down to the ground, throw yourself onto the bar TV. But I think that's going to be a ripper. Where's Curry? That's
100%.
miles away, isn't it? How
I
far
think
is
it's
that?
I think it's under an hour.
Oh no, you got
It's all right.
Yeah.
the link road.
Yeah.
It's not so far, is it?
Yeah.
It was actually a nice spot to set up for the commentators as well, up
Yeah.
on the grandstand with the table. So nice view.
Yeah.
The field is very wide, as I remember though. So seeing the other side, I believe I am calling that game. So I apologise to the viewers if I get names wrong because I'm blind as is, and the field is very fast. So
Just guess.
Yeah.
that's typically become the expectation at fields that are that wide.
Yeah. So, yes, reiterating, this one is the match of the round for the weekend, Saturday, September 13th, 3 o'clock kickoff there. And yeah, finals in general, no result at full time, into extra time, straight into penalties after that. Just to sign us off here, would you guys rather see in finals football tight penalties, or would you like to see a good clash in a 90 minutes and then someone just pip the result at just before 90?
I think you got to go penalties.
The more excitement, the better. When it's not your team, or obviously if you're coaching or playing, you want it finished pretty early, in the 90. But sometimes when you're commentating or watching, you don't want the game to end. I've found that this year, watching a lot of the Zone League games, is you're enjoying it that much and the excitement of it. If you're sitting on the fence with the result, you don't want it to end. So why not take it to penalties? Sometimes there's even tears that makes it even better.
From yourself, or
Oh well,
in front or behind the camera?
if I was a player, I'd probably.
Well, I guess it depends on how Minmai goes, I guess, where the tears are going to be.
And Curry, they're one of my favourite.
And
teams
Curry
too.
as well. Yeah.
I'll be really biased this week on Curry.
Well, that rounds us out for episode 24 of the Zone In podcast. Technically, episode 1 of finals football. So, yeah, we'll can't wait to see the results when we get back in here next week.
Do you think you'll play?
I can't give
or
away.
Are you holding back?
I can't give away any secrets.
If I was to hazard a guess, I would say yes, just because of the beard, the hair, the eyebrows. He's an Instagram play. It looks like new earrings as well. I would be guessing he's playing.
Well, for anyone that follows me on social media, if you see me do a fresh trim update on Friday afternoon, that'll pretty much be a giveaway.
You're growing your hair. He's doing all the little facets that lead into a spectacular change on game day.
Maybe we'll have to see. Well, either way, I will see one, both, or all three of you, CT maybe as well, up at Curry, whether I'm playing or not. I might come over and say hello to you boys. I might not, might be in the zone. But yeah, be as harsh or as nice to me as you want, I guess.
We always do.
Yep.
We call it as we see it.
Yeah,
That's the motto, isn't it?
It's typically harder to be mean when he's not talking. So
No. It'll be good to see you on the field. You're still one of the leading contenders for goal of the year.
could be, and that is something that is heating up as well. We will be, as we get closer to the end of the final series, collating all those goals. And I really think it's going to be
I
hard.
can't see why a Merriweather player wouldn't get it. Really. They seem to get everything else.
Yep.
And on that note, we are finished for the episode. Thank you. See you later.
This is the Zone Football League.